Are you on the edge of your seat?
Because we're about to sound off with Kevin Williams.
On today's latest trends in location-based entertainment.
Brought to you by the LBX Collective.
Your community to connect, engage, and inspire.
Alrighty, everyone. Let's buckle up.
Well, hey gang, welcome to Sound Off episode number 47. In today's episode, we are going to be exploring the latest business trends and innovations, along with some new applications of business technology. Dying to hear about this. But as you know, it just wouldn't feel right unless we started with a change my mind. So, Kevin, what do you got for us today?
Ooh, well, I've got to go along with my inflated ego. I'm going to throw the argument out that balloons are passé regarding facility openings, and that we need something a little bit more facility suitable for the announcement and the presentation of a brand new site. So it is. It wasn't really a European concept. We usually do the ribbon cutting and the champagne popping and maybe the discharge of a confetti cannon. But the Japanese concept, which has then migrated into the North American concept, which is now ubiquitous, is the balloons. And though I like the balloons, and they bring something special, and they are signifiers of an opening of a facility, they're not very green. Part of the particular problem that we have in our oceans, as well as the money that we have to pay for power cable cleaning, the using of a flamethrower drone to remove plastic articles from power lines, as well as the problems with livestock and pets, is balloon based. And maybe we need to be mindful of the green aspects of our business as well as the promotional side. What are your feelings?
I'm totally on board with ditching balloons. For me, they're a pain in the ass. They're hard to transport. They're hard to keep together in the arch that you want. They're popping and scaring kids and animals. And anyway, it's just
causing riots at theme parks.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Actually. Totally on board with changing. I'm curious what you would change it to.
I'm tempted to go for the inflatable guy, or his equivalent. I think the flailing arm inflatable character or equivalent air ride systems such as those, I think, are the way to go forwards, because they also have synergy. We're supporting our friends in the inflatable industry, because the systems that are used to operate the flailing arm systems are the same air systems that are used to inflate inflatable rides. So, there's synergy. We can go to our own industry and come up with a solution. Part of my feeling about this was inspired by what I saw at IALPA Europe. There were a couple of companies there that had brand new inflatable sculpture systems. And I was looking at one of them in particular and thinking, wow, you could create quite an interesting themed temporary experience at the front of your building. And that's when my brain jumped to remove the balloons. And to be honest, I would like to ditch the balloons very much, because they're passé. They have been done to death, and we need to be in an industry that has a USP, a unique selling point, and we need to be special, and we need to be an experience, and just copying what everybody else is doing is not the way.
Yeah. However, and I don't disagree with you by any means. It's just balloons aren't expensive. And when you're at your grand opening moment and you're looking for that final little touch to add to the entrance, using a new inflatable that you have to design and develop, they can get up there in cost, right? So it's really kind of about factoring that into the budget. But,
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we dive into the main topics for today, we're going to go ahead and hear a word from Intercard. Intercard is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. cashless systems from Intercard increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercard is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon. All right, Kevin, take it away, sir.
Okay, well, 47, here we go. And obviously, we've had a little bit of a format change. The openings and closing side of this has been taken out and put into our new component of the weekly show. So we're focusing now wholly on the tech in the biz and the biz development, what's going on. And one of the trends to keep an eye on, or I've been keeping an eye on, is the application of where a lot of these openings have been going on. So I have been quite surprised. Alabama has been popping up a number of times on my searching list to see where new openings of facilities is going. And I wonder how much of these targeted hotspots for new openings are based on one of the two models, either that it's time for a change and this audience is looking for something new to entertain them with their disposable entertainment income, or that they have been bereft, that they haven't had a modern entertainment offering at a certain price point, at a certain opportunity in their area, and someone corporate ladder has found an opportunity to jump on board with this. Whatever the reasons being, we were seeing a 20,000 square foot facility being dropped in there, FEC, quite large, but also brand new build. And so that kind of tells us that this is opportunity more than filling, replacing something that has already existed. The same also exists for our friends in Texas. I have been reporting a number of times about new facilities opening up in Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth. These, I know from the research I've done, that a lot of people have calculated that this is an untapped audience. It's an audience that has expanded and grown, especially after COVID. Part of the Californian exodus has seen many new families depositing themselves in Texas. And with that, they have brought their disposable income hunger for location-based entertainment or entertainment on that level. So much so that I know that there's one large theme park corporation that is actually thinking about announcing or building a major regional entertainment theme park acreage facility to cover Texas. Now, going back to my time with Disney, one of the many projects that got shelved under Michael Eisner was actually to create Disneyland Frontier, which would have been a Wild West themed, very heavily themed park facility in that neck of the woods. So again, there's an opportunity. And then we jump to the next one, of course, Arizona. And I've been reporting on a number of claw machine facilities that have been popping up around Arizona. And again, this is filling in a vacuum rather than replacing old facilities. And it's very interesting in this sector that we're seeing, quite a broad mix across the state. We're seeing the deployment into retail units of claw machine emporiums, as it were, all the way up to creations of large mixed-use leisure entertainment facilities. With electric karting and virtual reality and themed attractions. So I think we're at the cusp of quite a large rollout. Well, we're experiencing quite a large rollout of entertainment facilities statewide. We have hotspots where there are a number of buildings going in, but also we're at a point where a lot of these new opportunities are going into virgin territory. And as I've said before, that can be the most tempestuous of the areas to go into, because you don't know what you don't know. There are lots of unknowns compared to going into an area or a territory where you're replacing existing entertainment. I don't know if you guys have got any particular states that have popped out to you. I know also Canada. I know it's not a state, but I'm seeing a broad mix of new facilities also opening up in Canada.
Yeah, no, we're seeing a lot of them. And what's I'm seeing that's a little bit nerve-wracking, especially in my neck of the woods, is the location. Like you mentioned, they're not the greatest locations. They're just putting it where they can find the spot to build, and it's scary. Scary.
Yeah. Very scary, because they haven't done, they can't do, because of whatever reason, the due diligence of doing a heat map, seeing where the biggest disposable income or the audience is for themselves. They're going where convenience takes them for a facility, and that can prove quite a problem, because sometimes you may have an audience there, but they may have a specific taste or a specific interest which facility isn't catering for, because you're too generic. You're trying to be all things to all men, when rather some facilities need to be specialized towards where the money is. Anyway, let me jump on and talking about trends. One of the things that surprised me while I was doing some research was, here am I going on about the number of location-based entertainment facilities in our sector are popping up. And then I went across and did similar research on how many new facilities are opening in the escape room business, and it was double what I was seeing in our sectors. The difference, again, here is that what we're seeing with the escape room business is that, well, number one, we see and always see around this time of the year an uptake in escape rooms because of the Halloween crossover. Some of these escape facilities are scare facilities. Some of them will not be permanently opening, but they're a foot in the water, a toe in the water, to see what the temperature is, and then to either turn their facility permanent or to regroup and come back with a new offering. A lot of these escape rooms now are modular, so that they can be temporary or short stay locations. But the things that we're seeing in the escape room business is that it is undervalued. From the calculations of the industry, this is a market that is really looking to grow even more. Part of that growth will come from branded facilities, and we are now seeing a number of escape room operations opening with a brand. We will soon see our friends with Netflix House incorporating a escape room style experience based on one of their properties in their new facility. We're also seeing the application of the latest technology. So we're going away from popping down to the local DIY store and grabbing all of their padlocks. We're now seeing next generation escape rooms that have a very high level of theming, but are also automatic. So they don't need a gamekeeper constantly resetting the padlocks and the safe and putting the items back in the boxes. These systems are automated, where they can be restarted with a click of a button, and they are supported by gamification, by automation. I am interested to see also that the age positioning for escape rooms is changing quite drastically. We saw them aimed originally at a relatively mature audience. Then they were scaled down to aim for children and younger visitors. And now they're being scaled back up for the younger adults, with the inclusion of alcohol. So they are now being seen as an opportunity for competitive socializing, as an attraction to be parachuted into a facility. So not just a standalone, but also able to be an attraction in their own right. Any comments?
You're muted, Brandon.
Sorry, I was pouring iced tea and then I muted myself. I'm not used to muting myself. All right. Anyway, I think we were talking offline, or maybe it was over WhatsApp or whatever. We were talking about the escape room business, and I think one of the differentiators here is that they have a really intense, loyal following, and it's like the one exception to every other attraction in our industry, in that they have an actual app that people can look for escape experiences in escape rooms. It's called Morty, Morty. And they, and that following is massive. They actually give out awards for top escape rooms, and so it's definitely, while, it's growing quickly and you could say there's saturation, I think because they're themed and there's so much differentiation between one escape room to the next and one escape experience to the next, there's room for that because of that type of loyal following. It's a very different model.
Mm-hmm.
You hit the nail on the head. There is, if I want to find an escape room, I either jump onto, I haven't used Morty that much. I actually use Scarecon, which is one of the industry sites dedicated to scare attractions, LARPing, and escape room. And they also have a newsletter that goes out where I think I shared some information during our WhatsApp communication, and it is very nicely laid out. You know where the local one is to you. TripAdvisor also is set up very nicely to tell you where the escape rooms are, where TripAdvisor sometimes can be a little bit confusing to find what type of location-based entertainment is closer to you. They just sort of try and throw everything into an FEC bucket and hope that you will pick out the pieces. It is also important to remember that the escape room business is very independent, though there are chain operations and very large chain operations. The majority of escape rooms are independently run, and that independence creates a community, and that community is very well at self-publicizing itself. Something we need to be mindful of. Moving on, and funny enough, one of those operations that has incorporated a escape room component into their entertainment, We Do Play, is the owners of a number of chained entertainment facilities in the UK and Europe. They do social parts, they do flip out. And of interest, the company now is decided to add to their 30 odd facilities by adding a new brand, and they've actually partnered with Activate, and any of our loyal followers that have fallen asleep to one of my previous sound offs will have remembered that I was mentioning that Activate had just opened up their brand new Las Vegas facility. Adult social entertainment, much more physical, much more brain powered. Each of the areas of an Activate location is set up for a different kind of skill set. It is group, it is very intensive. And that idea has been decided, or that brand has been decided to bring over to the UK, as well as to expand the options. And, the team at We Do Play was saying in one of the interviews they did about this announcement that they were really being active about rolling out the number of Activate facilities that they're going to be deploying. Again, as I said previously, brands looking to own the landscape by opening up as many facilities to try and capture the audience. It is turning really into a capture the flag kind of situation now with the bigger chains, while the smaller chains just have to fend for themselves and survive. As I said earlier at the beginning of this, a lot of what I would have been talking about with new openings and closings has now been moved over into its own unique component, which will be incorporated into the weekly LBX. And what I get to do now is with this section, I can actually pick out some of the meat and bones rather than just talk about the openings, but actually talk about some of the trends that we're seeing from those openings and closings. One of those, as I've touched on earlier, is the sudden appearance of retail unit new wave crane installations. Poor on the theming, high on the machine, high on the merch. Really bringing a new taste to the North American market of the crane game experience, using the latest of the new wave crane machines, copyright KWP. The interesting thing about this is that they're pushing very heavily the merch, and they're pushing very heavily that if you come and you play, you will be leaving with a lot of prizes. And they even promote the bags that you're going to be putting all of the merch that you've won into when you visited these sites. These are retail fillers, as in you have a retail unit, you can parachute one of these facilities very simply into that. I would also argue what we're seeing happening in the Japanese market with the likes of Bandai Namco Cross Store, as well as the Capcom store concepts, which is IP merch, gashipo, crane machines, maybe a little bit of F&B, is another example of this kind of high-level approach, which also lends itself to how the Japanese market has gone down the path of the UFO catcher style venues, part of the amusement mix, offering a new interpretation to a new audience, and I would also argue surpassing the older traditional crane machines that we have existing in the market for a new interpretation. Guys?
Yeah, I guess one of my questions I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Kevin, is this new wave, we'll call them new wave cranes, seems to work really well or fit well into a small strip mall market or small shopping mall retail installation. But I'm curious if and hopefully you're hearing this question actually, considering it looks like he's frozen. But does this new wave crane still work within an existing FEC? So for example, if I have an FEC, I've got a bunch of cranes in there, should I be replacing my cranes with this new wave crane, or is this new wave crane really meant to be in this like wall to wall, back to back installation environment?
It's a good question. I think it's horses for courses. Again, it goes back to what I said earlier about knowing who your audience is and not throwing the baby out with the bathwater and just changing everything for the sake of it. I would argue this is exactly the same dilemma as the photo sticker machine situation, where it appeared on the same timeline approach, which was we saw sticker machines being really popular in Japan and Asia. We saw facilities then bringing over sticker machines en masse and filling up retail units with them. And then we saw operators first dip a toe in the water and maybe have one or two sticker machines and then create clusters in their facilities. I would like to get ahead of this and say to the industry that you need to take a cold, hard look at your cranes and see if they're up to snuff, see if they are able, to be revitalized and repositioned to ride this wave, or if you are looking at crane machines that are over 10 years old, and really you should bite the bullet and think about upscaling your crane offering. Crane machines, grabbers, UFOs, whatever you want to call them, do allow you to present high-level merch. Smart facilities use crane machines to promote their own merch rather than just pencil erasers and the cheapest plastic knickknacks that can be purchased in bulk. Really, if you look at the new wave crane machines, they are a show front to items that are collectible and have a very high level of engagement. They're linked to IP, they're heavily branded, or that they're high ticket items, and they encourage the audience that you're trying to go for to play them, rather than just being another item in your tick list of things that you have in your midway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In my experience as an operator, it's what you actually have in the crane that is so critical and so important, keeping it stocked, making it look full and fresh. But on that note, if your crane doesn't work because it's 10 years old and they get clunky and they're hard to fix, and even if you're replacing parts, they die just because it's got that claw component to it, it might be time to look at a new crane. And especially if you're putting new games on your floor, because all the new games that are coming out look so incredible and magical with all the lights. And if you have a dowdy looking crane, even though it's got some good IP and some good stuffies in it, it's just not going to perform as it should in comparison.
And also the new designs of the new wave crane machines are much more show front, storefront, merch forward, well lit, good engagement, less of the scam. That perception of the old crane machine where that claw doesn't grab that well and it's a hit or miss approach, and you see all of those YouTube debunking channels that I've talked about in the past. If you look at some of the new crane machines that are out there, they're bringing a new, fresh approach to the crane experience, which is enticing rather than disappointing. And one of the examples, of course, is the multi-layered crane machines, where the adults or people of a certain height can play one level, and the younger children can play the lower level. All of these are very enticing and very new, and should be considered, rather than sometimes I hear the argument, oh, we've already got crane machines, and I turn up to do the evaluation and I'm looking at a 20 or even 30-year-old crane unit sitting in a corner not being played because everybody knows it's a scam, it's a rip-off, it doesn't really grab. Or in a really nasty scenario, the punters have worked out that it's configured to be a 20-year, which is on the 20th game, it actually grabs something, but most of the time it's a soft grab. Those are the things that we need to distance ourselves from an industry's point of view, and new wave crane machines could be our chance to get on the bus and get away from that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Looking also, as I said, at the merch, IP, and high engagement entertainment venues, those new wave crane machines inspired by what we're seeing in Japan, inspired by what we're seeing in China, now coming over. Gashipo is part of that process. These are going to be possible competitors to your prize center. You've got to consider that if you have a midway setup in your facility and you have a prize center location, is your prize location comparable to what is going to be available in the strip mall, in the shopping mall, in one of the units? The last thing you want is that the players, the visitors, the guests to your facility take one look at the prizes that you're offering in your prize center, turn their nose up and go off and do something else, because fundamentally we live or die on the quality of the engagement of the prizes that we have if you're running midway and redemption and crane machines. Moving on a little bit about trends, and we've seen some new trends popping up and making themselves felt. I think in the wake of the shake-up in Topgolf, we've seen a number of operations now trying to use the Topgolf as a foundational concept and then coming up with their interpretation of that gathering with other entertainments. So we have seen basketball given the Topgolf treatment, and that is being rolled out by Jump Shot, as well as two other companies that are looking at, so we say, gamified, social entertainmentified basketball. We also now have pickleball. I've just calculated, I just got information to add to our database of the latest company opening up a pickleball entertainment facility, which will also have F&B, which will also have amusement, which will also, in one particular case, also have soft bowling or string bowling as a component alongside the pickleball courts. The nice thing about this from my perspective is when the bubble finally bursts, or should I say when someone rams the stake through the heart of pickleball, if that is going to ever happen, then those courts are going to have to be turned into something, or these venues are going to crumble into dust. And that real estate is very enticing for us, thinking about multiple attractions that can be populated within the space. But I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. At the moment, we're riding the wave of certain trends being popular. And for some reason, pickleball in a court environment with social entertainment is being seen as an opportunity. Guys?
Well, I'll leave the pickleball thing alone. I think I've beat that horse pretty dead already. But I do love. I mean, I'm really interested or intrigued by the jump shot concept. I think it's been done. I know you have just an exterior shot, but I'm going to have some interior stuff. So if anybody who's listening, you have a chance, go definitely check them out, see some of their interior concepts, what they're doing with the basketball hoop and the way that it moves and turns and pivots allows you to be able to simulate or take shots at the basketball as if you were anywhere on the court. So that's what I really like. It's not like you're just standing there shooting free throws the whole time. You're actually, it's moving and moving. And so you're taking shots from the side and, not off the backboard. And anyway, I think it's a really interesting concept. We'll see. Again, I struggle with any of these that have single sports or single attraction in their model. But, I do think that they have an interesting, at least gameplay concept.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, the investment in this.
The game.
Sorry, go ahead.
Please. No, please you.
I was just going to say the investment in this looks massive. Like this building is gorgeous. I mean, very attractive. I'm just curious to know who's behind it. I haven't done enough research to determine this yet, but it does look like an interesting concept.
It's a concept that's been sitting around for a while. The entrepreneurs behind it have gone through a baptism of fire trying to get this across the finish line. And I've seen 2 artists' renderings of what they were hoping to do 3 years back. So they've been plowing along, and they're not the only ones in the game. There's an Israeli company that has a hoops setup system, again very gamified, very LED lighted experience. And there's a third operation in Los Angeles that we came across that is raising money towards there. So hoops at the moment are seen as the next big thing, and this is off the back of the plane crash that was the NBA experience that Disney attempted up at Disney Springs. So this isn't the first date or the first time that they've tried this, but it is really important to get the mix right. Moving on to other franchises or other popular brands rolling out, and virtual reality really has seen a number of the key chains hitting their stride. Our friends at Zero Latency were celebrating reaching their 100th facility franchise and surpassing it. They are now 101 and 102. Our friends at Sandbox are in the high 50s and were able to surpass that. And our friends at the Park Playground have also started seriously rolling out their franchise. And again, going back to what I was doing in a couple of sound offs, talking about the pros and cons of the franchise, there are a lot of operators out there that have found benefit from jumping on board the VR franchise rather than trying to roll their own concept. Taking a little bit of a pivot here, and while we're recording this, G2E, Global Gaming Expo, is taking place in Las Vegas, the gathering of the casino and the land-based gaming industry. The latest and greatest in casino machines are on display, and surprise, surprise, the licensing and branding of these casino machines has seen them come to our industry, to the amusement industry, and borrow some of our clothes. And so for the first time, we've actually seen some casino units themed or licensed based on skee ball and licensed on popper shot. So it's interesting to see that. We've seen Space Invaders use Defender, use Gallagher and other that over the years in these gaming slot machines. Especially the latest digital slot machines have been really trying to push the boundaries between gamification and gambling, especially after the damp squib of the gaming machines. But now we're at a point where they're really borrowing the clothes from our back, really are using IPs that talk to the generation that is coming into their facility. And it is interesting that skee ball, one of the oldest of the redemption, so we call it, or prize gaming brands, is now getting its time in the casino. So talking about the business, let's look at some of the tech. And while talking about virtual reality, we have to talk about the shakeup that's going on in the technology application of MR and VR and AR. Meta Connect saw the promotion of a concept by Meta of their latest augmented reality glasses. And that kind of placed augmented reality back front and center in the tech gurus' discussions. And this sort of came at the same time that Microsoft, who had been market leaders with their augmented reality headset system, HoloLens, has decided to back out of the sector. They have decided that they will not be producing their headset anymore, and that they are now going to be focusing on other applications of their content with other manufacturers' platforms. That kind of came as a shock to a number of companies in the enterprise sector that have been depending on rolling out enterprise applications using the HoloLens and the HoloLens 2 system. And that also impacts us. So we have at least two companies that supply what I would call holographic augmented reality experiences that use originally they were using smartphone head-mounted systems, and then all moved over to embrace the HoloLens. Some of them even, embrace the HoloLens as well as the Meta Quest Pro to try and offer a wide gambit of platforms. And sadly, both of those platforms have been discontinued by their respective manufacturers. HoloLens is not going to instantly disappear off the shelves. It is being wound down. They have stopped the manufacturing. They are going through their inventory of units. And it will give enough time for us, especially in the entertainment industry, to find another company that can provide that. And HoloLens wasn't the only game in town. It was one being used by certain companies, but there are alternatives. And anyone that's seen the Mario experience at Universal Super Nintendo World will know that there are a couple of Japanese manufacturers that produce systems quite similar to the performance of the HoloLens. But Microsoft really decided to divest themselves of their involvement in the mixed reality sector. Anyone from about 5 years ago will have read my articles talking about how much Microsoft was doubling down on entering the location-based entertainment with the Windows MR platform. And at the time, I was kind of voicing a little bit of caution because I was still suffering PTSD from the time that Microsoft, jumped into the amusement industry to promote their PC arcade initiative 10 years, 20 years ago. Oh, no, yes, 20 years ago. And I was sort of saying, we can't put all of our eggs in one basket. Well, sadly, the proof is in the pudding. The I told you so t-shirt resides underneath this jumper, where we now see Microsoft deciding, click of a mouse, they are not now going to be supporting the Windows MR infrastructure. So all of those head-mounted displays and mixed reality systems that used the Win MR platform are now going to be bricked if they use the latest update of Windows 11 that's giving me so much enjoyment recently. What we are now seeing is that some manufacturers, some investors didn't have money for days. They didn't really want to just throw money at a market to grow a market. They were throwing money at a business that they thought was going to grow and generate revenue. And now 5, 6, 7 years on, 8 years on in many cases, they still haven't seen the investment being generated from these machines in the consumer side. And so they pulled the plug on their investment. HP were spectacularly removed themselves from VR headset development, just as a number of location-based entertainment companies were starting to use the HP headset as their preferred platform. And a number of companies in location-based entertainment had used the Windows WinMR headsets because they were available, and also built by many manufacturers, Samsung, Lenovo, Canon, other companies, well-known manufacturers, had dabbled in VR through a WinMR supported platform. And now all of those systems that are still out there in the market better not do their update to Windows 11 latest update, or else they will have headsets that are not going to be functional anymore. And they will now have to decide to move over to either the HTC or the Pico or the DP-VR solution. Concerning when you depend so much on technology that you're purchasing from a third party, you have to be mindful of how you protect yourselves against the vagaries of a Windows decision to move away from that platform. And it's why I'm always very mindful when I'm advising clients who are thinking of jumping into VR that you can't half-ass this. You really have to treat this as a professional approach, and that this is a commercial entertainment approach rather than trying to emulate what's happening in the consumer sector. Talking about the VR success story away from the issues that our friends at Microsoft have had, and as I said in my coverage of the IALPA Europe show last week, that we really were at the cusp of new investment, and the investment was in the Generation 4, as I like to call it, systems which are free roaming. We are going to be inundated at IALPA Orlando next month with a number of manufacturers showing off latest updates of this roaming, free movement, multiplayer experience, which really is a major departure from the tethered PC backpack solutions that we have. Much more freer movement, much more active, much more compelling, and also linked to some very interesting IP. But again, I want to touch upon that as something to keep an eye on, but we will go into more detail about that from our Orlando coverage. Along with that, we have the greater expanse of the projection mapped enclosures, the projection enclosure systems, the immersive enclosures, as I like to call them. I touched upon the number that we'd seen at the show, and recently I was talking about the opening of Butlins and their play experience facility, and they have doubled down on that and included an immersive enclosure system within their mix, again made by our friends at Neo Experience. Keeping it in the family, it feels like, with the branding. But this kind of thing is very engaging. No head-mounted displays, no 3D glasses needed, no backpacks or anything. You just jump in and play. And it is that level of engagement through immersive enclosures that is becoming very compelling. Speaking about a project that I've been involved with through one of our companies, Spider Entertainment, they are opening their first Spider Box facility, and they have included an immersive enclosure system based on a music experience to prove a compelling drinks and cocktail environment. They also got a digital DJ kind of approach. So how you utilize these projection mapped experiences can be as compelling, if not even more compelling to your audiences than the head-mounted display approach. Other aspects I touched upon, of course, is the bowling explosion, and all of the bowling facilities now are pivoting towards social bowling. I am seeing all of the more traditional, the majority of the sports bowling facilities, the traditional bowling facilities, now trying to pivot towards a social entertainment engagement. As I said at the time, we saw a number of these providers at IALPA IALPA Amsterdam. I am not sure if we will see as many bowling machines on the show floor at IALPA Orlando, but you have to be mindful that most facilities that are being developed at the moment with a social entertainment mixed-use concept are including some level of boutique bowling in their makeup. and of course the ubiquity of mini golf. Some people would say that the social entertainment, the competitive socializing boom that we're experiencing at the moment was fueled by mini golf and crazy golf kinds of systems. But now we are seeing a migration from the traditional black light, glow in the dark mini golf systems to the gamified digital ball track systems that Putt, Shack personified at the beginning, but are now being delivered from many companies, including our friends at Creative Works with their Lucky Putt system, or our friends at Greenspan with their Puttify applications. And the next one on the active entertainment experience, what could be called a projective immersive enclosure, if you just take it at face value, but the golf simulation scene is seen to be a major growing opportunity. And at the moment, it's a business that is projected to just grow and grow, to jump into the $4.34 billion price point is a wet finger in the air, as is the speculation on the escape room business. But it is based on some very interesting information where we can see that this is proving popular with the audience, and with the right branding and the right presentation will grow and grow. And if anyone has watched the last couple of sound offs I've done with the location reporting, I have been talking about a number of new openings, a number of 5-iron golf facilities opening up, especially the brand new UAE facility. But also we have seen new entrants into that market, some successful, some also finding it difficult to define themselves. Anyway, I've zipped through that quite quickly. At least I didn't have to do openings and closings this time. Anything that jumped out in particular for you guys?
No, I would just add on that not only are we seeing really enhanced golf simulators, but we're seeing really enhanced projection mapped sports simulators in general, right? So we've seen some really interesting stuff with baseball, and we've seen mixed sports simulators, cricket as well. And then obviously just people putting in the generic sports simulators and not really trying to optimize around a particular sport. But I think the ones that do try to optimize, the one that we covered, the football one. I'm trying to remember the name of it right now.
Yes, Toka Social.
Yes, Toka Social. Yes. So I'm excited about that one as well. So anyway, I think that it's not just a golf trend, but definitely an overarching sports simulator trend.
Mm-hmm. Sports simulator, and one of the aspects about the sports simulation market is that it is an industry that has a home market. There are a number of prosumers that have golf simulators, football simulators in their homes as either exercise or rec room systems. But these systems are also used for training. So fundamentally, the original football training systems from Toka Football are to help professional and amateur players improve their games. And the golf simulators equally have found their biggest flow of life before the entertainment sector as trainers to improve the handicap and the swing of amateurs as well as professionals. The same can be said for the racing car simulators in the esports sector. Most of those have also a life in the prosumer sector. So I kind of get the feeling that a lot of the things that are going into location-based entertainment, social entertainment venues, are kind of prosumer toys being given a new update, a new injection. But also we have to be mindful that active entertainment is very big at the moment. Active entertainment with a gamified coating, gamification to it. So while the trampoline part may not be as trendy as it was, the active entertainment facility with the wristbands and the scoring and the social player characteristics is finding favor, as we talked about Activate just previously. And here, with the golf simulators, as well as the football simulators, as well as the cricket or the baseball simulators, it's a very physical experience. It is much more than the Wii U, get the controller out and try and break the television at home. This is you holding a real cricket bat and hitting a real cricket ball, hitting a real baseball, hitting a real golf ball, kicking a real football. These systems are offering a much more immersive experience, and that kind of touches upon what we will be talking about next week.
Yeah, I mean, I just, as an overarching theme for everything, I just see that everybody's upping their game now. Everybody's upping their game. So if you are putting a new center in, you can't just think about what your attraction mix is going to look like anymore. You really have to come back and think, what does the customer experience need to be like? And how am I going to continue to modify that? Because it's not just being offered in entertainment centers, it's being offered in golf simulators, it's being offered in basketball centers, it's being offered in escape rooms, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
So, be smart and make sure you think about what you're doing for the customer.
I'm concerned that maybe our sector's been caught up in the technology rather than the application. And so we've had people talk about VR rather than the experience that you get. They talk about AR, and they have to go into the minutiae of the glasses compared to the headset without saying, is it better? Is it more compelling? Is the holographic experience of an augmented reality facility as compelling as a physical themed experience that Meow Wolf would present? And I would have to argue that Meow Wolf's experience is comparable, if not superior in many ways, to what the best of the augmented reality walk around experiences available on the market are. Now, we can't allow us to become fixated in the technology. As you said, we have to be focused on the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, that was a phenomenal sound off number 47. Hard to imagine that we actually cut out a section. But you know what? I did like the fact that we were able to get into some more of the actual trends and into the weeds a little bit more than just burning through stuff. So anyway, looking forward to, though, learning a little bit more about the openings and closings at the next LVX show coming up here in a couple of days. So make sure to tune into that. And otherwise, everybody, see y'all.
Keep kicking ass.
Keep kicking ass.
Keep kicking ass.
It's embedded now. Bye, guys.